6000 años antes de Cristo, de forma accidental, nacía una bebida que cambiaría el rumbo de la historia. Olvier TV, el programa cervecero. Bienvenidos a Olvier TV, el programa para los amantes de la cerveza y para aquellos que a partir de hoy la van a amar. En Hallertau, Alemania, visitamos el lupular de Alex Feiner, el encargado de la parte de investigación dentro de Hopsteiner.
We are right now here, right next to a Hercules field. Hercules is the main high alpha variety in the Hallertau. So currently we are picking hops here in this field, and yeah, I'm more than happy to show you how hops are harvested here in the Hallertau.
Nos encontramos en Hallertau, estamos en Alemania, tenemos el gustazo de conocer una de las parcelas importantes de Hopsteiner, pertenece a la familia de Alex Feiner, alguien que conocimos en el 2020 en el Congreso de Lúpulo de Hernán Testa. Él es parte de la investigación de Hopsteiner y hoy va a charlar con nosotros. Hi, Alex!
Hi, Graciela. Hi, nice to see you again.
I'm so happy to be here in your place and you talk about your babies because this is your babies. So what kind of hops we have here?
Yeah. So we are right now on my parents' farm in the Hallertau, and right now we are standing in a Hercules field. Hercules is our main high alpha variety in the growing area in Germany, and yeah, it's a beautiful one. It has a nice aroma, it has nice alpha, and overall, yeah, the plants look very healthy, and yeah, it's a nice one.
It's a nice one. Come with me, near me. Okay, talk about the news of Hopsteiner here, because you are the boss in this part of science, Hopsteiner science. So I know you have a lot of work here, a lot of research. So the people in the camera, out of the camera, must know the news, because all the brewmasters can find the best hops to the beer, no?
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest challenge we have right now is climate change, and also this year we had less rain, more heat, and it's the second year in a row where we have a yield below average, and therefore my biggest research goes towards breeding new varieties which are more tolerant to climate change and which can handle heat and drought much better, but also not changing the overall characteristics of the hops, so that a brewmaster gets still what he wants, but more tolerant to climate, yes, but also more tolerant to diseases.
You continue make research between United States and here. I remember you talk about this. You continue with that.
Of course, we have at Hopsteiner we have one breeding program. We have two locations. We have Yakima and we have here in Hallertau in Mainburg one location for breeding. But in general, it's one program. We interact, and yeah, that's very important, because overall we are working in the same direction, and we can support each other, and yeah.
Talk about, if you can, the last one best hops, or different for different kind of beer, because it's a very good time to say to the brewmasters, okay, this is better to that kind of beer, or this better to another kind of beer. Can you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of our latest releases was Akoya. This is meant as an alternative to the very well-known variety Perle, and because Perle struggles a lot with climate change, and therefore we wanted to develop a new one which is more resilient and more tolerant, and but having the same characteristics as this typical variety Perle. So this is one type, but also we released new varieties for craft, for hop forward beers, for fruity tropical fruits, and there's one that's Solero or Lotus and Sultana in the States. And yeah, our newest baby is Helios.
Wait a minute, again. Again, repeat.
And our newest baby is Helios, and Helios is also a high alpha variety like Hercules, but it combines all of our research into one plant. So we have stacked resistance to powdery, to downy mildew, and high yield, high alpha content. This is all based on our last decade's research.
Qué bueno. Se dan cuenta, ¿no? O sea, todo en uno, y eso es importantísimo porque siempre hablamos también de lograr una cartera de sabores y de esa manera seguramente se potencian. You talk about Salvo, Lotus are so incredible kind of products, and we stayed with Richard last summer in Argentina and explained the advantage of these products, no?
Yeah, the nice part is that we don't only make new hop varieties, we also try to make the next products out of it. So next generation hop products, and therefore products like Salvo, and we are currently working on a new version of it. So our varieties are perfectly made for also product development in the new direction. And we have so many advantages of using a liquid product like Salvo, and then hopefully pretty soon the new one, because of handling, of dosing, and overall. And our program is not only made to make new varieties, also make out of these new varieties the next products. So sustainable way of thinking of making sustainable varieties, but also sustainable products for the future.
For which beer this is the best hop for you?
Yeah, Hercules, usually out of Hercules extracts are made of it, CO2 extracts, ethanol extracts, and it's perfect for bittering your beer. So for your first dosage, Hercules is mainly used.
Thank you for your kindness.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything.
You're
Because
welcome. You don't have to. You don't have to worry. It's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure, and it's really nice to have you here. It's yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I hope you came to Argentina soon.
I hope so too.
Yes,
I hope so
to
too.
talk in the Congress of Hernan Testa.
I'm always in contact with Hernan, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to come there pretty soon again, because it was a beautiful time in 2020 at the Congress of the Lupulo, and yeah, I wish to come back pretty soon.
Okay. Each bag have a label. Tiene una etiqueta que dice, este número que ven acá es el que indica de qué granja es, de qué parcela es.
That you know then farmer, variety, year.
Todo acá.
Gracias Alex y familia por tan cálido recibimiento. Salud. BAC, Vini Asesoría Cervecera.
Capacitaciones y análisis sensorial, a la distancia e in situ, diseño y mejora de recetas, estandarización de procesos, maximización de la productividad, mejora y compras estratégicas. Mi nombre es José Vini y creé BAC para ayudarte a mejorar tus birras.
BAC, mejora tu productividad.
Somos cerveceros independientes. Somos emprendedores y pymes. Somos familias y amigos detrás de un único objetivo: la búsqueda constante de la calidad. Somos una fuente directa de muchísimo empleo. Estamos a lo largo y a lo ancho del país. Somos cervecerías independientes.
Molinos BZ, el punto justo de la molienda para la elaboración de cerveza. Hopsteiner, fundada en 1845, líder mundial en la industria del lúpulo, calidad, sostenibilidad e innovación de nuevas variedades y productos de lúpulo. Hopsteiner, líder mundial en la industria del lúpulo. Cervezas de barrica Areco, un espacio para degustar o llevarse a su casa increíbles cervezas barrel age y de guarda. En San Antonio de Areco, cervezas de barrica Areco. Birra más arte, Desarmadero Bar, en la esquina de Gorriti y La Valleja. Fermentis, easy to use, fácil de usar. Inoculá directamente o rehidratá con mayor flexibilidad. Fácil, limpio y sustentable. Más información, fermentis.com.
Si no ves el 3 picos, parate en punta de pie.
Lúpulos Andinos, organizadores del Congreso de Lúpulo. Gorila, cervecería argentina. La evolución de la involución. En Bélgica, junto al equipo de Fermentis, visitamos de Ranke, una cervecería increíble.
Hello, my name is Casey, and welcome All Beer TV to Brewery de Ranke. So this is our brewing installation here at de Ranke. It's equipped to brew about 4,000 liters of beer per batch. And we only brew about 4 or 5 times per week, 1 time per day. We have a very simple brewing installation. We have a mash and watering tun over here. There's a holding tank in the cellar. And after the mash, it goes into the boiling kettle where the wort is cooked, hops are added, and then we collect the wort from that kettle. Without whirlpool, without any extra filtration, it goes directly to fermentation. So this is an old style brewing installation, but it's made of steel, modern materials. The mash and filtration are all in one kettle. It's custom made for de Ranke. From down here, where it goes into the cellar, we collect it by gravity in the old-fashioned way. All of the wort, which is sweet and ready to be cooked, hopped, and then fermented, comes up to the boiling kettle. The boiling kettle is also custom made for our brewery because we work with whole hops that we buy locally. We add them all directly into the wort. So we have a very simple filtration system which is not typical of a modern brewery. And Nino and Guido, the 2 founders of de Ranke, had this custom made for our type of beers. Today we use 2 different hop varieties. So at de Ranke, at this brewery, we are specialized in bitter and hoppy beers, especially from a Belgian perspective. And Nino and Guido, the 2 founders of the brewery, wanted to work locally. And the easiest way to work locally is buy directly from the farmer. They only sold at that time whole hops, whole flowers, whole cone hops, not pellets. And so we've always purchased that way, actually. And what we found actually is with the whole hops, our bitter beers have a much softer, smoother bitterness. We can brew 50, 60, 70 IBUs, which is very bitter, without hop burn, without that aggressive hop taste. We can make very nice, soft, drinkable hoppy beers. So we have a custom built installation. That's a very simple way of filtering the hops. It just keeps them in the kettle. And these are the hops from XXX Bitter, our hoppiest beer that we brewed today. My colleague is going to go in there tomorrow morning with the ladder to take out the hops. It's a simple way of removing them. It's just a little warm and it's a lot of work. But it actually doesn't take that much time. It takes maybe 30 minutes to take them out. So that's actually quite specific. I won't show it to you now because it's too warm. Most of our cellar is just a giant refrigerator. That's where we mature the beers. After the first week of fermentation, all of our beers come down into the cellar, where we hold them for another month, somewhere between 4 and 5 weeks typically. And during this phase, they continue to ferment, and then eventually the yeast settles out of the beer. Without any extra cold steps or any extra filtration, we wait until the beer is clear. And every beer is fermented and re-fermented with that yeast. Just as you would see at a very large brewery, except much smaller here. Every bottle is inspected for any foreign materials or faults in the bottles to make sure it's good, well washed as well. Every bottle has a vacuum inside of it, and then we fill it with carbon dioxide to avoid oxidation. And the flat beer that's dosed with sugar and fresh yeast will be pushed into this machine where every bottle is filled by gravity as it does a tour. Okay. And the beer is still flat at this point. It only becomes carbonated after we cap the bottle and then leave it warm for a couple weeks. We put labels with some glue directly on every bottle, and then the labels are easy to wash off for the next use. In Belgium, it's typical to reuse bottles, and that's something we've started to do recently. So this is our hop fridge. We buy all of our hops directly from the hop farmer just after the harvest, and we keep them the entire year in our storage at 0 degrees. These are some Hallertau Mittelfru hops from Belgium, from this year's harvest. You can see Mittelfru here. These are the hops that we use in our triple Guldenberg. And we work 100% with whole hops like this. The advantage of whole hops is, let's find a prettier one to break open. The advantage of whole hops is that we are just trying to get this lupulin, the powder on the inside.
Aceites esenciales.
Exactly, yeah. We want our essential oils from the hops. We don't want the plant material, we don't want to extract from the leaves, we don't want to extract from the inside of the plant, we just want the essential oils. Yeah. And so when we brew very bitter beer with hops, the bitterness is always better with the whole hops. And it's mostly for that reason, actually, that we do it. This is where we mature all of our sour beers. We will age our beers up to 3 or 4 years, depending on what we're making and what we're blending it with. We use old hops left over from the previous years for these sour beers. They protect the beers against oxidation and also against acidification. They keep the sourness softer. And we brew many styles, from oud brown to our own type of lambic that we make here, to stock ales, all for blending or for aging and bottling. So these beers, when we begin to sell them, are usually a minimum of 2 years old. It's a small percentage of our production. It takes a lot of space, but it's another passion of ours, not just hops.
De Ranke, en el próximo bloque, segunda parte y la tercera para próximos programas. Cervecería artesanal Coleman. Un producto artesanal genuino. Coleman. Construyendo cervezas. Metamorfosis. Cervecería de barrio. Parque Patricios. Heller, bar de fábrica, la perfecta combinación entre todos nuestros estilos de cervezas artesanales junto a la mejor gastronomía. Heller, en Mar del Plata.
Cada lugar y cada momento tienen un estilo distinto. Cada espacio se transforma con un sonido. vos? ¿Sos capitán de tu vida?
Surprise, motherfucker.
De lunes a lunes, toma la exquisita cerveza artesanal Antares en La Plata 56, Diagonal y Parador. Choperas Cabo de Frío, la solución en fabricación e instalación de choperas. Frío Beer, chillers y torpedos, micro y macro cervecerías, asesoramiento profesional, instalación, www.friobeer.com.ar. Ámsterdam, Friends Factory, La Plata, el lugar en tu mundo. Sudamericana de Filtrado, Sociedad Anónima. Alta calidad, máxima eficiencia y rendimiento. Más de 50 años en la industria del filtrado. De Ranke, cervecería en Bélgica, segunda parte.
Hi, how are you?
It's a pleasure to host you here at Ranke.
Okay, start with a little story about this brasserie.
So Ranke has existed for 27 years. Nino Basel and Guido de Vos created it in 1997. Ranke was created to reintroduce hops into Belgian beers, because at that time there was no hoppy beer in Belgium. So the two founders created it to bring the style of beer that they loved back onto the Belgian market. They started it with this beer, Guldenberg, which is a hoppy triple. XX Bitter, which you'll taste next, which is an extra hoppy Belgian ale, and a Christmas beer, which fits more into the category of IPA than a typical Christmas beer.
Yes, we see all the brasserie and you explain each part, but if you like, talk about the method, the why you do this kind of beer, is no filter, very little to put inside the other around.
So the way we make beers is actually quite simple. We try to make simple, tasty beers without pasteurization and without filtration. So our brewing equipment is quite nostalgic. It looks much like a brewery would have looked 100 years ago, except it's made of steel, of course. More modern materials. We have a simple mash and filtration tun, a simple boiling kettle, to which we add only whole hops, no pellets, no extracts, just the hops directly in the wort. And the kettle holds the hops afterwards, and we have to clean them out by going inside.
Yes, so fun, so fun.
I prepared the ladder for you. I don't know why you didn't go inside.
I'm very scared.
But, and we do a very simple workflow. We just have to pay a lot of attention in our brewery because every single valve is manual. We ferment for a week, we mature our beers for 1 more month, and everything is re-fermented in the bottle and in the keg. And all we're trying to do is in a very simple way, without adding any extra steps or any extra ingredients to clarify or stabilize the beer. We're just trying to make tasty, hoppy beers in a Belgian way. I would call this an outstanding triple. If we put it in a beer competition like we discussed earlier, it would never win the gold medal in a triple because it's too hoppy. But we add the hops for the customer, not for the medal.
Yes.
It's for you.
Yes.